need. Traumatic cinematic, bitches.
Check us out, dramaticcinematic.com. Greetings and salutations, internet goers. Welcome back again to the digital domain we like to call This Week on Traumatic Cinematic. I am your host, Mugumbo, and with me tonight, like always, is my two heinous henchmen of crime, Mr. DeMoss and Mr. Whitcliffe.
Let the dance contest begin.
Let the dance contest begin. That's the wrong show, Dave. Is it just me or do my balls itch? So, guys, this is our final show, our final This Week presentation, current event show before the big show, the big
I thought
date.
you were telling us you were canceling the show. I'm like, wait, what?
No, yeah, they pulled the funding out. The $3 a week they were giving us to do the show, it's gone, and
You
I
get
can
$3
in pennies. So, folks,
You get pennies?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It still spins.
Focus, guys, focus. This is a short show. So, we are gearing up for Days of the Dead. Amazon has sent me my equipment. We have 3 new microphones. We have cables. We have stands. We have pop filters. We have hundreds and hundreds. Literally, I've invested thousands of dollars in recording equipment alone. Not just that.
So what you're saying is that your wife is going to kill Dave and I.
As long as she doesn't listen to this episode,
And
everything will
bury
be
us
fine.
in a field.
I have a box
They have
full
a
of
field to bury us in.
I have 5,000 business cards. I had no idea how many 5,000 business cards were, but I have them. But better off, ladies and gentlemen, we have something way better than equipment. We have something way better than business cards. We have the one and only, the heart of Days of the Dead, possibly the man behind the curtain, but I wouldn't say he's behind the curtain because he's the one I found. We have Adolfo Dorta is on the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
How's it going, guys?
What's going on, man? I must say, first off, thank you for bringing us a show that's for us, the fans. It's not like last year was my first experience with Days of the Dead, and I was hooked. It really did. I mean, I've been to multiple other conventions, but Days of the Dead really, there was something special about it. Have you figured out what that special is yet?
In terms of us, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's real easy to say by the fans, for the fans. It almost kind of, it's such a cliched, overused, poured out term that you almost don't even think about it. It's worthless. It's just marketing. But, I'm really confident and proud to say that with us, it's legit because, the way the whole thing started was, it was just a bunch of us that have been going to conventions for years and years now. And, we got the opportunity. One of our partners, Bill Philpott, who runs Revolution Management, he'd been involved in another show that was going to come to Indianapolis. That promoter pulled out. And with some of my previous work, regarding like press and website, online media and stuff, he sort of invited us to come on board, me and our other co-promoter, Rick Lara, who does our website. So, long story short, it was one of those things where we kind of sat around and was like, okay, well, we've been to a lot of these things. What do we like? What do we not like? And how are we going to go ahead and make that? And, literally for weeks, we just got together, over pizza and beer every night at somebody's house and just, made lists of all the things that, over so many conventions that we've been to, have worked, what hasn't worked, what kind of guests we want to see, what kind of movies do we want to see, and just sort of pulled together, a collection of experiences from us, from fans, and that's pretty much been our blueprint. I think that's why other fans sort of kind of relate to the show so much, because it really is, it would be as if, one of them had made the show or one of them had become a partner in it. It's stuff that to a fan makes sense. I mean, I can't say how many times, and I'm sure, you guys do the same. If you've been to enough conventions, you're hanging out at the bar after hours. It's Saturday night is past. You're in there getting drunk, having a couple of beers, or maybe just talking with friends or whatever. And fans discuss these things. They say, well, that was really cool. That I didn't like so much. I wish next year they would do this. I wish maybe they would consider bringing that in. And we talk all the time. And, that's sort of what we pulled together in order to make Days of the Dead. And, it's still an ongoing thing. Every year we find new things that we want to change about ourselves. And I think that's why we have kind of a tone and a flavor that other shows that might be more fixated on the dollars and cents part don't have.
Well, there's one thing that I feel like I should mention, and it's a total compliment to you guys. I've been to Gen Con, which is the biggest thing in the Midwest here. I mean, I've never been to a San Diego Comic-Con, but the Gen Con in Indianapolis here is mind-bogglingly huge. It's just amazing. And for a non-gamer, the thing you notice about Gen Con is the cosplayers, the amazing costumes, handmade costumes, and the beautiful slave Leias wandering around, this, that, or another. It gives a really nice touch to the whole ambiance of the show. Then there's Comic-Con, gone to Chicago for the Wizard World Comic-Con, and again with all the amazing costumers and the cosplayers and stuff like that. But there's all these famous people that are literally almost behind glass and like held with like lock and key that felt really awkward, The worst was seeing Bruce Campbell, where like you're not even allowed to pull a camera out of your pocket and point it at him, otherwise you're going to get escorted out, right? They actually have signs up that do not take a picture from the crowd. And it's like, what? But you know what? I go to your show, I go to Days of the Dead, and literally, like, I'm standing there talking to, some new friends that I made from Days of the Dead, or not Days of the Dead, from Dear God No, James Bickert, and I look over and Tom Savini's over there talking to, somebody. And I'm like, it's just like you're literally rubbing shoulders with these famous people, or not just famous people, but like people from our childhoods or people from these movies that we love, and they're just kind of hanging out like the rest of us. And that gives a really special tone to your show, along with you really seem to support the cosplayers at your show too. Jeff Wickedbeard Cochran, Chris Blair, Deandra Laser, like they're all amazing. Like they just add an extra level to the whole experience that I mean it's what makes you special. It really is. It's there's some other shows that I've been to that didn't really support the costumers like that, and it's pretty awesome.
I'm really glad you mentioned it, because in like the 2.5 years that we've been doing this, and the countless interviews I've done, people rarely mention that, and that's actually one of my favorite parts of the show, and one that I don't get to talk enough about. And that was another one of those things when we kind of sat around, brainstorming the original Days of the Dead. One of the things that, we told ourselves we wanted to see a lot of is the costumes and stuff. I mean, I don't know how it is in Indiana, but up here in like the Chicago area, the haunted house scene is huge. And, every like late September to early November and all through October, just in like the area I live in, within 30 minutes driving distance, I think there's probably like 30 or 40 haunted houses. It's ridiculous. I mean, from little sort of like bootleg, homegrown kind of, haunted houses to like really huge like productions inside giant warehouses. And we kind of wanted to bring that atmosphere to the horror convention, almost like a little Halloween in July, because that's one of the things that, as a kid growing up, you're fascinated by the monsters. That's what got a lot of us into the horror movies. I mean, from the classic monsters like, The Creature or Frankenstein, or, and probably our era is more relatable in terms of like Freddy and Jason and stuff in the, 90s and whatnot, late 80s. But, it was like, dude, we need to have a lot of that. We need to have people walking around, wearing masks and having gore and machetes and all that jazz. And it shouldn't feel like you're getting in line at another convention to meet people and pay your money and walk out. It should have a little element of danger. It should have a little element of unexpected. It should have, that kind of, that feel that you feel on Halloween, where, you sort of, it's kind of unpredictable. Like if you've ever sort of, been out on Halloween and everybody's in costume and stuff, even though it's something that's very orchestrated, nevertheless, like just, the side of that is something that we wanted to capture and bring inside of the actual facility. So the first year, the way we did that, I mean, you mentioned Wicked Beard. We got him on board right away, and, we're like, dude, you're pretty much at the top of your game when it comes to this stuff. We want, the kind of stuff that they have at the comic book conventions where you've got, like, 500 bazillion comic book nerds dressed up as X-Men and stuff. We want that, but horror at this show. And Wicked Beard's done a hell of a job putting a costume contest together. The
Monsters Among Us or Monsters Among You. Whole group.
Yeah. The Monsters Among You group, that whole group, Larry, Wicked Beard, the Nightmare Man and Diva, Andrew, who does the Michael Myers character. I mean, all those guys and girls and stuff. They're the best at what they do in terms of this. And along the way, they've picked up some others. You mentioned Deandra. She, was at our first show, and we sort of had her bring almost like the hero angle, and that's sort of grown into her own thing that she started to run with. I mean, we
the heroes
try not
among
to regulate it too much. We let them go with it, and we're real happy with the fact that they've been able to sort of encourage that costuming culture in our shows, because it's not something that, you always have people dressed up at horror conventions, but I don't think it was ever anything that was very supported and very commonplace until we kind of started encouraging it. Now you see it at other shows, and I think that's a good thing.
I feel like I need to mention that when you say when people dress up, and walk around at the horror show, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't people putting their last year's Halloween costume on and walking around. Wicked Beard, Chris Blair, Deandra, Nick Tyson. These people, they're hand making a lot of their costumes. They're not going and buying just some run of the mill, in a bag, pinhead costume. Like there's a lot of shit that goes in. Like they are the real deal. And the thing I remember most of last year was Chris Blair's Hellraiser. It's just amazing. It's just awesome. And Deandra, she looks just like, Nancy. Like it's befuddling to see, how well she looks just like the chick from Nightmare on Elm Street. They really are. They're artists in their own realm. But there's way more to Days of the Dead than just the amazing costumers. There is, last year, I remember there was a lot of movies shown. One of the main ones was Dear God No, which I was outside calling and trying to get people into with, non-exploitation and all sorts of other fun, nasty, dirty things. What are you guys supporting that much this year? Like some new films or anybody like showing something for the first time, or anybody like, do you have like, you're not really doing a film festival-ish kind of thing yet. Yes, no?
Well, actually, yeah. Actually, this year, more than any other year, we're showcasing a lot of indie talent. We went with, we partnered up with Jab Pictures, who we've worked with quite a bit. Jason Hoover out of Chicago, who runs that. He's the brainchild behind the collective, which, if you're not familiar with it, essentially what they do, they give 10 filmmakers one subject to make a 10-minute short film off of, and just like let them run with it. And then it's sort of like an anthology where you've got 10 different movies about the same thing, just based off each particular director's interpretation of it. So, you can have like one topic, and one film will be like a straight up slasher, one of them will be kind of like an avant-garde art house kind of film, one of them will be, maybe a comedy, one of them will be like a thriller. And it's just, it sort of highlights the sort of individuality of artistic creativity, while at the same time exposing you to a lot of really cool up-and-coming directors that you might not have necessarily had a chance to check out. We partnered up with him because he's pretty much one of the authorities in the indie horror film scene right now, and just told him, pick, 48 hours worth of the best upcoming indie film programming you can put together. And so they're doing a 48-hour film festival. Starts at right when the doors open on Friday, runs all through Friday, runs all through Saturday. and into Sunday until the convention closes. So, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're going to catch a film. 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you can catch a film. It's another one of those things where we believe that when you go to a horror convention, it shouldn't just be, what I call like a donut shop show, where you go in with your money, you make your purchase, you walk out. I mean, we want it to be something where you hang out the whole weekend, you're partying with us, you're checking out movies with us, you're socializing with us. You're doing it all. You're getting away from reality and from that 9-to-5 grind for a week because, outside of these sort of events, outside of this sort of subculture, really what kind of anything like this do you have in the real world? And it just, it helps to, further highlight, some really cool stuff in the indie horror scene for people that might be a little shy to check it out by, maybe, going out and making a blind buy. They can sample a whole palette of these films, and then, they see something they like. We have most of the directors at the show, introducing the films, doing Q&A. Some of them are going to be selling their films there, and then, if you dig it, and support an up-and-coming filmmaker.
Absolutely.
I have to admit, it made me really happy to see Scott Shermer on the list, because Found was one of my favorite ones from last year.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Yep.
We actually did like a screening in Chicago with Jab, where that was one of the films at the screening. It was that, Redson Tower, and God, I forgot the one right in the middle. But Found is a nasty little film, and I'm glad that Jason brought that out, because that's one that I think a lot of people need to see.
Yeah, I own it.
Me too.
Me too. I think we bought it this
I was
time.
also very heartened to see It Came from Hollywood at the opportune time, 4 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and an Easter casket 2 hours later, which we had all been on the lookout for earlier in the year, if I remember correctly, around Easter time.
There's a whole
I actually
bunch
have
of-
a copy of it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Mike is
Yeah,
a
go.
filmophile. He owns nearly everything. People won't admit that,
Yeah.
but almost everything. That's a compliment, Mike. That's a
There's actually
compliment.
a lot of really cool ones that I hadn't even heard of, and
And that's exciting, isn't it?
What's that?
That's exciting, isn't it? Like, I haven't heard of these. Like, isn't that awesome to like have a list of films that you haven't even heard of? That's like new experiences, new ideas, and creativity.
Well, and then some of them, I get DVDs like shipped to me all the time because every time we're doing one of these, people are like, well, I want to show my film, and you get a lot of really cool ones that you find, and you get a lot of really shit ones too.
I was going to ask about your selection process this time, but you partnered with Jab, so
Yeah,
let's see.
that Jab. Yeah, and
This is all him?
Jason's actually, he's done a good job also in past shows, sort of helping us. I work like a 65-hour weekday job, so I
Totally.
don't have time to watch 20 movies a week. So a lot of the times I'll call him up and say, hey, have you checked this out? What do you think about that? And we'll sort of brainstorm to pick sort of like the cream of the crop. But some of these, man, I'm really jealous that I'm not gonna probably have a chance to catch them because the whole running the show thing.
Mhm.
But there's so many good ones just going down the list, and I've been sort of the last couple of weeks like checking out all the trailers on YouTube for these films, and kind of like jotting down to see if I've got any like openings in the schedule during the day, and maybe trying to fit in on a few. Really exciting stuff, man. And for anybody that's their thing, checking out, you want to find new and creative and exciting horror films that's not like the same old, Hollywood bullshit, the same old, tired stuff. Give some of these a chance, man. They'll blow your mind.
I have got a question. What would your job title be? What would you consider? Like, are you the promoter? Are you the organizer? Are you the face of Days of the Dead? Are you Adolfo, Mr. Days of the Dead, Dorta? The face?
What's that?
I mean, so you're the voice.
Yeah,
you're the face. You're the kissing or smacking baby, shaking hands kind of thing.
Yeah, pretty much. We all kind of wear a lot of hats. Rick does a lot of the aesthetic sort of look for.
So you do the
everything
graphics?
from yeah, he's the graphic guy.
He's
He's
good.
the art guy. He does all our merch.
Good job,
I'm
Rick.
sorry,
You're talented,
Okay.
Rick. Very good. If he ever listens to this.
You're breaking up a little bit, so if we sound like we're kind of
You're right.
competing, I apologize because I can't. I'm not. I think it's a problem with my phone.
You're fine. You're fine.
But okay, cool.
So my question is, how much stress is involved, or how difficult is it to organize all of these famous, talented people? You have to have the names on the roster, right, to help sell tickets. I mean, that's part of the show. It's not just about the movies being shown. It's not just about the cosplayers walking around looking awesome. It's also about the autographs and the memorabilia and people meeting their film idols and heroes and villains. How difficult is that? Getting people signed, getting people to agree to be there, people canceling on you?
I pretty much leave that, where Rick does a lot of the graphic and the web stuff, and I do a lot of the sort of organizational and the programming and the face stuff, the celebrity-related stuff. Most of that is handled by our third partner, Bill Philpott, who's the guy that brought us in. I try to stay my hands out of it as much as possible because nothing is worse than, having met somebody that you really like in the past at another show and gotten a really good impression from them, and then you work with them on a business level, and they're a total douchebag.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I've had a couple of posters come off my wall based off, the way people act on a business level versus the way people act, and that's all stuff that fans really, I when anybody asks me if there's anyone in particular or, they ask me for juicy stories, I never give them up because, honestly, that's something that fans don't really need to know.
No, and it's like showing somebody the magic tricks that a magician is going to do before they see him. Like, this is how he does them all, and just ruin the whole mystique of it.
Yeah, or what the way I tell people, I compare just in general the whole like business aspect of the convention scene to being kind of like when you find out that Santa Claus is your parents.
What? What?
You still get something out of it. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Damn it! Damn it! They lied to me. That's all right.
But you know what I'm saying.
They lied to us.
I always wondered.
Like, it loses part of the magic is gone. I mean, you could still kind of roll with it and have fun, but it's never the same. And yeah, that's why I kind of try to stay out of that part. But Bill's one of the best at what he does. He books into like 40, 50 shows across the world a year. I mean, he's pretty on top of stuff.
That's awesome. No wonder you're able to do stuff like this. Because I was wondering, I was like, if you had to do the talent also, I don't know how, like, the pictures of you on Facebook, you're not bald, gray, like, no fingernails left. Like, this dude is miserable. He's just like, fuck it. I'm going to go into ballet. I'm going to start, I'm going to do a convention for ballet artists.
Howard Hughes. Yeah.
So is he the one that kind of thinks of who to ask too? I mean, I, as I'm sitting here, the first time I saw Lita Ford pop up on the list for next week, I was like, really? That's awesome, but who'd have thought of that?
Well, we all kind of, we'll shoot ideas back and forth. I'll go to Bill and I'll say, well, what do you think about so-and-so? I mean, can we make that happen? And then he'll say, sure, or I'll try, or, that person has absolutely no interest. Because, a lot of times, and we've all seen, like, the guest requests for, like, Tim Curry and, all these Johnny Depp and all these far-fetched guests. And, fans don't know who will or won't do shows. Not all celebrities will. But, when you got somebody that will, I mean, I kind of just send Bill to go do his thing. And, I mean, if he doesn't have a direct contact to him, he can usually get them, and it either happens or it doesn't happen. They're available or not. But I mean, we all kind of just sit around and brainstorm. It's a lot of fun. Like sometimes I'll just, somebody from some obscure movie from the 80s or something will pop into my head, and I'll go, oh shit, that person would be really cool, and I'll just shoot Bill a text. It's like, hey, what about so and so? And that's kind of how those things go.
You actually. You guys surprised me. It might be your most controversial guest that you have ever had at your show, at least the indie show or any of the show. But you guys announced that Twisted's going to be there for Saturday, and
Right.
I'm a huge fan. Like I will never call myself a juggalo, but other people would probably refer to me as that, even though I'm 36 years old, an adult with children, and I'm not a juggalo. But I love those guys. They're awesome. I've met them numerous times, and it was funny reading the post, and it's like, why, like, how can a bunch of horror fans who we all get, for the tattoos on our arms, wearing black, long hair, whatever your horror fandom is that makes you, we get looked down upon and, treated differently because of it. How can you look at this? It really kind of blew my mind, because they are really awesome dudes. They're not bad people by any means.
Yeah,
and they're fun.
Actually, our friend Gina from Rock and Shock, who's one of the promoters for Rock and Shock, was the one that, kind of sent us an email. It's like, they're promoting a new album, and, they kind of want to just show up and, sign for free. And they were like just so easygoing and so whatever, and such cool dudes. And, it was like, sure, why not? And, I was kind of surprised too by the reaction by horror fans, because I figured if anybody would know what it's like to have people prejudge you, you know what I'm saying? I figured it would be horror fans, and it just seemed like there was a whole lot of judgment being passed around, and I was kind of disappointed in people. I mean, I get that a lot of people think the whole Juggalo thing is a little goofy. I get that, for a lot of people it's not their thing, and you know what? If you don't like their music, if you're not a fan, that's fine, dude. There's like 40 other guests that you could go meet. Just walk right past their table. They're not even asking for your money. Just, walk right past them and go to see who you want to see. And, it is what it is. But I don't know. I guess you can't please everybody. And,
they're missing out, because they're two awesome dudes, and their music is really pretty awesome. And they did, believe it or not, and not to get into this, but they are no longer part of Psychopathic Records, so they're no longer associated with ICP. They are their own thing now.
They're doing their own thing,
which is awesome. That's a really, really big deal, and that really kind of shook up the whole scene. But anyways, Adolfo, is there anything else? Is there anything we've missed about Days of the Dead that you wanted to talk about? Or is there anything you want to say to the fans out there listening that are like, oh my goodness, we get to hear his voice? I bet it's silky smooth. I bet he sounds like an angel.
I kind of wanted to ask him about the tattoo contest a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So I saw the thing about the tattoo contest, and I actually, Scott used to come into my shop back when I ran a comic shop, and so I've known him for a while, which was really cool to see. But it looks like it's, you come in and you already have tattoos. Are they going to have somebody who's doing that stuff there also?
Oh, I have the answer to that. You can't do that in Marion County.
Yeah.
It's illegal.
Yeah, you can't. I've wanted to forever. We've actually, you can, but there's so much red tape and bureaucracy behind it that it really isn't feasible. I've had Scott looking into it since the first show. You don't want to move it from Indianapolis, because that hotel's like treated us so well that, we kind of wouldn't want to move the show, but it's something that we've wanted to do forever. We wanted to do it in Chicago too, but it just so happens that Schaumburg, where we do the Chicago show, is like that sort of little township that we do it in. It's one of those places where it's like, no tattoo shops, no, adult video stores.
Oh, is it a dry county too? Like, you got to go 40 miles to buy a beer.
Well, you know what? No, it's not. Just for those things. It's not.
Okay.
They got a lot. They got an art college. They got a lot of bars. They got a lot of restaurants. It's a pretty hit place. Just you can't get tattoo, and you can't buy
porn,
vibrators and adult videos.
Damn it! Because that's what I want to do on a Friday night.
About that.
That's very strange. I know C2E2, which is in Chicago proper. They had a big tattoo thing just this past spring. So,
well, just different laws.
We were actually looking into that same venue, but it's really, especially for a horror show, once you find a good hotel that's willing to put up with all your crap, it's really good to kind of stay with them.
Those are like gold.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know if you guys were at the Chicago show at all. Were you?
No, not this time. we're working on that. We're working on extending our schedule, but we're still a fledgling organization here of ourselves.
Okay, well, just to give you an idea of what I mean by when you find a hotel willing to put up with you, it's like getting the golden ticket. We Saturday night we kind of had a karaoke party after the VIP party and all the other stuff that we had. Went with the karaoke. They kind of had an outdoor tent with us for us. I mean, it was like one of those like sort of state of the art, climate controlled, really big for weddings, kind of private tents and stuff. And so everybody's rocking out. They got bars in there. People were doing karaoke. 2 a.m, they're like, well, you guys have kind of gone long enough. We're gonna ask you to shut it down. Our DJ Harry Bean gets all his sound equipment. Tells everybody, well, hell, let's go take over the lobby. So he sets up all his sound equipment in the lobby, and you've got like 400 horror fans up at like 2:30 in the morning, and he starts running like an impromptu karaoke show in the actual hotel lobby. And there was like a group of like foreign exchange students on a field trip that are like coming out, and they're on like the top floors, and they're all looking out like, what the hell's going on? It's just like a bunch of like really drunk, rowdy horror fans doing karaoke, and then they had some people like doing Twister out there too, in front of like the little Starbucks kiosk, and that was the scene. And so I'm surprised nobody got arrested. I'm surprised we didn't get kicked out. It turns out they, after about 15 minutes of that, they said, okay, you can go back and have the tent as long as you want, just keep it out of the lobby. So 400 horror fans.
It's like, wow, you were way better out in the tent.
Like, what's that?
It's like, you were way better out in the tent. Like, go back out in the tent. Like, sorry. Like, I don't know what we were thinking.
Like, well, shit, sorry to have ever moved you. Just take it back to the tent. And they stayed there till like 5, 6 in the morning, just partying. And we were just like dreading that Sunday afternoon meeting with the hotel after everybody packs up, where it's kind of like, they give you the bill for all the damages and stuff, and they kind of tell you whether they'll have you back or not. And yeah, they were like, cool, so when can we talk about signing like a contract for next year? So we were, shit, okay.
Sweet. Well, that's awesome. And also, hotels really like it when you sell them out. When you sell all the rooms, like the indie show, I was noticing that on your guys' Facebook page, the Wyndham sold out. That's pretty. A hotel can never hope more than that, right? That's a
right,
gold mine.
Right. I mean,
there's no big race. There's no Super Bowl.
They do have their limits too. But the Wyndham's been great to us. I mean, we're signed there till 2015. After our first show, it was similar to Chicago. Like, we were like, well, do you guys still want to put up with us? And when they said yeah, it was like, okay, well, shoot, sign us on for another 4 years. Because, I like the hotel, I like the layout, I like the location. It's like 5 minutes from the airport. It's, in a really convenient part of Indianapolis if you're traveling, just right off the highway. And, the fact that they're totally cool with a bunch of maniacs dressed in weird costumes walking the halls at like 3 a.m. and, being drunk idiots. I mean, if they're not gonna kick us out or arrest us or whatnot, then I'm good with it. We can be friends.
The wife and I didn't go to jail yet last year, and that was really, really amazing. And not to go into that any further, so
I do have one other kind of more of a personal question for me, but have you guys ever approached any of the food trucks for showing up? Because I love those things.
We have kind of like contacted local restaurants in the past.
That's a great idea, Mike.
At least in Indianapolis, to see if they wanted to come and set up. And every time they sort of sold us out. There's this one guy though that does take care of us in terms of like staff and volunteers. He runs a donut and bakery shop, and every year, he's a fan of the show. He comes out and he's always bringing us goodies, and he usually brings us so much that you'll see me walking around like the vendor room, and if anybody waiting in line for an autograph wants a donut, then they're more than free to take one. But it's something that we've kind of pursued every year, and everybody's like, yeah.
They've gotten real popular the last couple of years. Yeah. There are trucks.
I just say we can probably find you some numbers like rolling trucks. They were awesome at Gen Con, and like the mac and cheese
if you
truck.
guys know anybody that you want to send me a number, I think that's a great idea. I mean, I've seen them. They do that in Chicago all the time.
Yeah, that way people don't have to leave the hotel.
In Chicago, they've got them in all over the place in LA, and I know you guys have a show coming up there, and I think Atlanta's even got them now too. So they're kind of the wave of the future.
Atlanta does have them, yeah.
Mobile food.
If you guys know anybody, just shoot me an email with they're more than happy to set up, and those are the kind of things. I mean, the hotel has great food, but if you're staying for the weekend, you don't always want to eat the same thing 3 days in a row.
Absolutely.
There's a truck around here that does mac and cheese. That's awesome.
It's awesome. They're buffalo chicken mac and cheese. Anyways, yeah. Now I'm getting hungry. So before we wrap this up, Mr. Dorta, I've got a question for those fans that are listening. For those that aren't familiar with this area, or those that are going to the show, I mean, you don't happen to have any like swag or any like goodies or anything for those that have made it, the 36 minutes into the show so far, have you? Or do you?
Yeah, you know what? Actually, if for anybody that's still listening, that's actually kind of, been able to survive our little ordeal for 30 plus minutes, we can give some stuff away. We'll give away some Days of the Dead swag bags with we'll throw in a shirt and a poster and a couple of buttons and a pint glass and some other stuff that we might have. Anything with our name on it, we'll just throw it in a bag and give it to them. And we'll go ahead and give away a pair of weekend passes too. If any procrastinators out there hasn't gotten on getting their passes, and maybe they can. What we'll do is they can go ahead and send in their email and name to you guys.
Yeah, traumaticcinematic.com, folks.
Draw a couple people. What's that?
Traumaticcinematic.com or traumaticcinematic@gmail.com, ladies and gentlemen.
Traumaticcinematic@gmail.com. They can write you guys, and you guys will all just throw the names in a hat, pick out a handful of names and send them my way, and then we'll go ahead and give some stuff away.
Excellent. I just want you to know, I can't wait, man. Sir, I cannot wait. This will be the first time the three of us have ever met each other in person, and we're doing it at your show.
Oh, that's rad, man. That's really, it's funny. There was another group of guys that have a podcast. One of them moderates some of our panels, and he runs a wrestling show, and he had two other co-hosts.
Nasty Neil. Nasty Neil.
You got it. Nasty Neil. And he had never met, Duckman, who's a guy that did some music for a show, and then he had another co-host he had never met, and they all met for the first time in Chicago, and that was pretty rad.
Awesome, man. See, you're doing more than just getting people to get some autographs and watch some movies. You're like, things are happening.
You're bringing people together.
You're bringing. I mean, you really are.
Well, we had a wedding at the show last year.
Actually, it'll be my wife and I's 18th anniversary on July 5th.
That's awesome too.
And hopefully, I don't know if we got a babysitter that night. She'll be there on Saturday for sure.
And we'll see if you make it to 19.
Yeah, we'll see if we make it to 19 after what I've done here. But I don't know. I was gonna try to do something cool. Like I don't know. I'll figure it out when I'm at the show. But I'll try to slip something cool in there, like in the evening, to have somebody like on a microphone, like.
Don't give it away on the podcast. She might be listening.
I don't know.
She doesn't listen to the podcast.
She doesn't listen. Dave, you don't even listen to the podcast. That's okay. You don't need to listen because you were on it. Thank you very much, Adolfo. I cannot wait to go to the show. I cannot wait to meet you and actually shake your hand and see how much taller I am than you, because that's what I do.
Probably a lot. I'm not a big dude.
Well, I am.
But there you go. It's solidified then. But you know what? Before we sign off, just going on the, it kind of reminded me. Speaking of all these procrastinators that haven't gotten their tickets, you're going to want to get them in advance because we just going by pre-sales. This is this show compared to last year is going to be twice as big. And for some people that were kind of standing in line there on Saturday, waiting in line an hour to get into the show, that's not fun. And especially, if you're there to get autographs. It's going to be. Well, it's not going to be as bad as last year. Last year, I think it was like 100 degrees outside.
That's right. Like 104.
Summer in Indy. You guys remember that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That was
the entire month of July was 100 degrees. Like 28 of the 31 days or whatever, 30 days. It was ridiculous. And
yeah.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, hydrate.
Hydrate. Lots of
And
molten,
sunblock.
lots of malt and barley. I mean, water.
Yeah, it's just, folks can come out, have a good time, look forward to meeting you guys there, look forward to, usually Saturday night's the day that the crew and the staff unwind a little bit, because once you get through Saturday, Sunday's kind of the home stretch. Sunday's kind of a breeze. So,
it's hangover day.
Hangover day.
It is hangover day. But, I think that what goes into these shows, especially kind of like, a couple of weeks before, when we're getting to it, and by the time it gets here, we're just like so relieved and so, looking forward to just kind of seeing it through, that we're celebrating just as much as you guys are.
All right. One last thing, and then we're out of here. And this was a requested question from one of our fans and your fans. If you were going to pick a furry character, what type of furry animal would it be?
You said this was a Days of the Dead fan?
Yeah.
Have they been to a Days of the Dead show before?
They say they were curious. It's somebody that we all know as a group. That's okay. I'm not gonna tell you which pinhead it is that asked this question. So.
Yeah, you know what? It was either like I kind of figured it might be somebody, but the answer to that question, they need to go to Days of the Dead and find out. And if they go to Days of the Dead next weekend, they will find out the answer to that question. Because anybody that has been to a Days of the Dead show knows the answer to that question. So, that sort of tipped me off. But if they haven't been to a show and they're still curious about what furry animal Adolfo from Days of the Dead would most likely be in some sort of alternate reality, they can go to Days of the Dead, Indianapolis, July 5th through 7th at the Wyndham Indianapolis West, and they will find out that very question.
And if you tune in after those dates, you might see a picture of it on traumaticcinematic.com.
Yeah, it'll probably be all over Facebook, but it'll definitely be on traumaticcinematic.com.
Absolutely. And also check out fromdustilcon.com. And that's it, folks. Any last words, guys? Any very, very last words? This is like a double this week's show. Any last words?
Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
all right,
no,
folks.
bye.
All right. That's a show. Thank you for coming out. And like always, I'm on the internet.
Kan, du driver fram